According to you, how will Donald Trump's victory affect India-China relations? Will it re-strengthen Russia-China relations also? That's a pretty complicated question. Okay, but it's a good question. It's a very relevant question. So, 4 years of the Democrats in power, we have endured that in India. It's been very bad for India. The India-US relationship has become pretty strained. They have done a coup in Bangladesh, which essentially is an anti-India coup. They are fighting a war for an artificial Christian nation, cookie land for Christ. Manipur is suffering horrendously as a consequence of that. The Americans are doing all that. Under the Democrats, all this has happened under the Biden regime. Now Trump has won, so maybe things will change. So what do I expect will change? I think the India-US relationship will become better. Trump has a different approach towards India. He overall is positive towards India. He has a great relationship with Prime Minister Modi. The two leaders get along very well. Uh, Trump is extremely hawkish on China. Uh, he is the guy who started the trade and tariff war against China, imposing all kinds of tariffs. The Biden administration carried that on. Now Trump probably will put more pressure on China because under the Biden administration, India and China were both under tremendous pressure from the US. That's why it became kind of natural that the two nations will try and find some kind of modus vivendi, some kind of way of coexisting. And that's why we're witnessing the beginnings of what could be some kind of rapprochement between India and China. It's still early days, but the climate seems to be favorable. If you see the pronouncements of the Chinese ambassador, the Chinese foreign ministry, the Global Times, they are kind of positive towards India now, which they generally have never been. So, and we have the disengagement that's happening along the India-Tibet border. Things seem to be going back towards the pre-2020 status quo, which is a positive development. It's still not the solution to the problem. The solution is a proper demarcation of the border, but things seem to be moving in the right direction. So that's where we are right now. When Trump, so this all happened between India and China because both nations are facing extreme heat from the US. That's why both nations are coming together. Now, Trump will have a different approach towards both nations. He will continue to be harsh towards China. He will not ease up the pressure on China, but he may ease up the pressure on India to some extent. He will not allow Sheikh Hasina to come back to in Bangladesh. Bangladesh will remain a US vassal. It's a newly minted US vassal. It will remain a US vassal. So that pressure will remain on India. I also believe that this cookie land issue may continue, or maybe not. Let's see. Uh, it is all being funded, financed, etc., from essentially the US. There is a lot of plausible deniability, but you will see that the cookie terrorists, they have a convergence with the Khalistani terrorists in Canada. They have common ground. Cookie elements. There was this video that came out on Facebook or wherever of the cookies who are separatists, who are asking for a separate nation. They met in some Khalistani environment and they shared the stage with Khalistanis. So cookie land, Khalistan, it's project K1 and K2 essentially. They are hand in glove. And the cookies are also kind of hand in glove with the Bangladeshi infiltrators in the far east of India, in the Manipur and Assam region. So, and Bangladeshi infiltrators come from Bangladesh, which is a US vassal. So, will things ease up in Manipur? We don't know. But overall, India will face probably less heat from the US when Trump is president, but it will not be entirely smooth sailing. So there will be less pressure on India. But does it mean that India and China, the whatever is happening right now, will it stop? Perhaps not. India will also want to have as many options as possible. So I think the India-China disengagement and India-China whatever the détente, the rapprochement, whatever you want to call it, it probably will continue. And I am in favor of that continuing and of things getting better I'm in favor of things getting better between India and China. Now, don't get me wrong. I am an extreme skeptic when it comes to China. Uh, you cannot, India can never afford to let its guard down when it comes to China. China has a we have a lot of experience with China. You cannot trust China easily. We're going to have to take it one step at a time. But I am in favor of better relations with China. So I think the India China, whatever rapprochement is happening, will continue despite a Trump victory. But India US relations will improve to a certain extent. What about Russia China relations? When it comes to Russia, Trump will probably take steps to end the conflict in Ukraine. It doesn't mean that he will take steps to make Zelensky win. No, the conflict will end along the lines along the battle lines that we have right now. So Russia is in control of about a quarter of Ukraine. It's in control of all the territories that are Russian majority in Ukraine, and Russia is essentially going to annex those territories. Now, what solution can come? The solution could be that we freeze the line of control at wherever the front lines are right now, and Ukraine should give up its aspirations to join NATO, and probably Zelensky should step down, and you should have a neutral government in power that comes to power in Kiev or something like that. There will be negotiation between both sides, and probably some kind of understanding may happen. In which case, there will be a ceasefire, and I think that's the direction in which Trump would like to go. Once that happens, um, things will be more stable in Europe. What about the Russia-China relation? I think that will also, uh, even if the Ukraine war ends, the Russia-China relationship won't change too much, because the sanctions that the Americans have placed on Russia, that will probably stay in place to a very large extent. So I think Trump coming to power overall will be good for India. It will be good because it ends the Ukraine conflict eventually. Maybe in a year or two, it may end the Ukraine conflict. But the India-China rapprochement won't end. The Russia-China relationship will probably stay the same. And India will continue to play an independent foreign policy role, and the role of an independent sovereign nation in world geopolitics. And India is going to be increasingly more important internationally, globally, because of its growing economy. In a few months, India is going to surpass Japan, and India will become the third largest economy in the world very soon. That's going to happen very soon. So India is going to be very relevant, but we will face challenges. The challenges will mainly come from the US.